Hey everybody, it is Prince's Friend. Welcome back to the second review for Graffiti Bridge Week. Today's review is going to be for Jill Jones's self-titled album that was released in 1987. Now, Jill Jones has actually been with Prince since the 1999 album. If you recall, she was one of the people who sang on the track. She worked with him, she danced at shows and whatnot, and she had her own dancing career outside of working with him. But she moved to Minneapolis in 1983 and became Prince's protege and started learning everything that he had to teach her in preparation for her own debut album. And I have to say, not to ruin the rest of the review, but the album's really good. Now, despite that, the album failed to chart anywhere in the US. Not the album, not any of the singles. They had 3 singles from the album. For some reason, it didn't take off. I think that the interesting thing about this is that it is written almost entirely by Prince and Jill Jones together, and the few outliers where it's not both of them, it's Jill Jones writing the majority of the lyrics and everything, and then Prince does most of the music. So I think that that's really cool. So kudos to her for being able to marry her songwriting style to Prince's musical stylings. For me, the album as a whole kind of feels like a bunch of leftover tracks from Dirty Mind and Controversy, that era, that have now been revived and mixed with Prince's musical sensibilities of Sign of the Times, which was the album out at the time. But I think it's a great mix of tracks, so let's go ahead and get right into those. So the first track is the intro, Baby You're a Trip, and Mia Bocca. The intro part is actually pretty short, and I think she does some really good crooning on it. But the main star of this is Mia Bocca, because it starts off with some background music that was borrowed directly from Under the Cherry Moon, some of the background music that plays while they're having conversations. But Prince took that and he added a great dance beat. So this song could have easily been on Parade. It's a song about being tempted by another and not wanting to do the man that you're with wrong. And I think the song is really good for Jill's vocal range. I think it's just the right amount of pop and funk. I love the use of cuckoo, which is spelled K-O-O-K-O-O, like the Sheila E. song. And the song is just so catchy. I've been humming it to myself since I first started listening to the album. Just like over and over and over and over. G-spot, G-spot. So G-Spot actually sounds like a Prince song that he might have written for either Vanity or Apollonia 6. It's mid-tempo and it has really awesome funk guitar. I didn't get the structure of the song upon first listening to it, but after reading the lyrics along with it, it's pretty genius. The lyrics are F for frustration, I for instigation, etc., eventually spelling out finally. So these strange lyrics are basically all the things going through her head while arriving to orgasm, and it's pretty crazy. I'm a sucker for really good poetry and execution. This one's really great. With eyes of violet blue, all they flame, her body when he approaches, steam heat. She closes her eyes, imagines his voice. So Violet Blue opens up with the same kind of funky bass and Jill doing some really good harmonizing with herself. This is an interesting tale of the moment that a woman is spending with the man that she is engaged to, all the while imagining herself with somebody else that gets her hot. She eventually ends up leaving him with violet blue eyes. Really poetic, and the sax in the song is top-notch. Guess my eyes can only see as far as you. Cause I only want to be. So this is a cover of Prince's song from his self-titled album in 1979, With You. It's mostly unchanged in its melody, though the instrumentality has a bit more jazz to it, which I think is good. Jill's voice is also very good on it, but I don't know if it quite matches with the song's style as well as it does to the rest of the tracks on the album. Overall good, but I don't know if it's good enough to compare to the original. That could also be just that I'm so used to the original, so I'm gonna call this one an even Steven. So Prince wasn't actually with the Revolution in 1987 when he was working on this track with Jill, but the music is essentially borrowed from old recordings that he had done with the band. It all sounds very Purple Rain if you listen very closely. The lyrics are mostly spoken in Jill's kind of seductive voice, and then she kind of climbs to these kind of screechings that are just really great. It seems kind of obvious, but it's about doing it all day and all night. Fitting title for such a song, eh? For Love feels like a song that Prince wrote for himself that he decided to give to Jill instead. Prince actually jumps on this track, making it a duet, and I think that this is the track to do that on because it's really funky and it's really good. It sounds like it's from the Parade era with really heavy use of the horns. The biggest thing that I noticed in the production value of this particular track is that certain instruments seem to come in and out. I don't know, it feels like it was thrown off at some point in the process, but it doesn't detract from how good this song is.
What's the point in cheating, baby? I don't understand. You know that I'm your woman, baby, 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 you're my man. Just because you drive the baddest car in town, don't say that you can take.
So My Man is actually the shortest track on the album. It feels like it's straight off A Dirty Mind. It's a song about a cheating man, and it says things like, don't I do everything for you? Then why the hell are you cheating? I like the track, and its length is just right. It checks out right before it would have worn out its welcome, because it's a good song, but it doesn't have a lot of up and downs, so staying its course really good, and then cutting off right before, oh, it's so good. Jill also has some really good screams in it, so that just heightens the awesome.
Baby, you're an ocean that's too wide to cross. And baby, you're a cross that's too deep to bear. Baby, you're a star that's too far away.
And then we get to the final track, which is called Baby You're a Trip. I actually have a version of Prince singing the song, and it is pretty epic. But since it's not a widely known song, I won't bother comparing Jill Jones's version to Prince's version. Instead, I'll just say that it's a great ending to this album. The chorus is super catchy, and it's a really bluesy way to tell someone just how awesome they are. Lyrically, it's not as poetic as I usually like. It's a little straightforward, but straightforward works sometimes too. Jill Jones pushes her voice in this song as well, which I really like, and it pays off nicely. It doesn't feel like she's straining, it feels like it's right in the pocket.
So, in conclusion,
the collaboration between Jill and Prince is undoubtedly one of the best of any of Prince's female proteges. This likely has something to do with it being a shared undertaking instead of Prince just having some songs laying around that he got somebody to sing. Jill does take charge of this album and her voice, which isn't necessarily the strongest voice I've ever heard, but it really shines through on this album. It was crafted so well to make her be as amazing as she is, and I'm really surprised that it wasn't a bigger hit back in the day. So did this album have you rocking all day and all night, or did it leave you violet blue? Let's discuss it down in the comments, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell thing for notifications. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook. May you live to see the dawn.